stay cool.
Hi, I'm Jay Fallon, and thank you for listening to the Slippery Slope podcast. So, if you'd asked me in 2025 what I was doing for work, I would have told you with a straight face that I was building a future. I had my business, I had music royalties. Now, I do some music, I don't get out and play live a lot anymore. But I do make some money out of music royalties. That's why I always say, hey, please go out and check out my music. And I have this podcast, all the work I do online. And I honestly believed the slippery slope was on track to become my main income. The numbers were climbing, YouTube was growing, and for once it felt like hard work was actually paying off. So that was 2025. And I can tell you that that's what I would have said because I had those conversations with people, and that is what I told people. So then December rolled around, and Australia's new social media laws arrived like a wrecking ball, wrapped in, we're doing this for the kids, branding. And overnight, my views didn't just drop, they fell off a cliff. Apparently, the government decided the best way to protect young people was to make sure adults can't speak freely either. Because nothing says safety like treating everyone as if they're 12. And silly me, I had thought I'd be fine. I thought, well, I don't have a young audience anyway. I'd been looking at my stats, thinking, mate, I don't have anyone basically under 25 listening to me at all. Turns out the laws weren't about young people at all. They were about control. Silly me for assuming otherwise. And while that was happening, Australia suffered the Bondi terrorist attack. Now, from the moment the details came out, it was painfully obvious that this wasn't just a tragedy, it was a leadership failure. A, in my opinion, I looked at it with my policing experience and what I'd done working in special operations unit. This to me seemed a predictable, preventable failure. But of course, no one in charge wanted to say that. I spoke about it. I talked about risk assessments. That's the thing that police leadership are supposed to do before large public events. I have sat in meetings when we're trying to organize events, operations, and people just openly talking about the risks, what the risk assessments are, where we're going, how we're going to mitigate risks. These aren't discussions that just happen supposedly in a vacuum. It's not just one person should be. I've been in these meetings where people, high ranking officers, discussing these things. So at these events, especially an event involving Jewish Australians, after years of protests and open hostility towards Israel, a risk assessment should have been conducted by police leadership. That should be bread and butter for police in New South Wales. But apparently, expecting police leadership to anticipate risk is asking too much. Apparently, leadership now means showing up after the fact and reading a prepared statement about how no one could have seen this coming. Right. Then I looked at the federal government's funding decisions. I did that episode about it, about, funding jihad, because the federal government had been giving money to the Grand Mufti of Australia, even after the Grand Mufti had publicly declared jihad on Israel. And I thought, surely someone will question this. But no, silence, absolute silence. And then comes the new hate speech laws, which I spoke about, which is that, you have a crisis. So what happens with the crisis? They use the crisis to bring in new laws, to bring in control, to bring in new controls towards the everyday person. So new hate speech laws that somehow manage to avoid addressing extremism entirely. But they do a fantastic job of targeting everyday Australians for saying things that someone might find uncomfortable. It's almost impressive. Not useful, but impressive. And when you pull all of this together, the social media laws, the hate speech laws, the refusal to take responsibility for Bondi, you start to see a pattern where leadership fails, leadership denies responsibility, leadership blames the public, and leadership tightens the rules on what the public is allowed to say. It's not about safety, it's not about harmony, it's about making sure criticism becomes illegal. If you'd asked me last year what I was doing for work, I would have told you I had a plan. I was building something I felt was meaningful and I believed I was on the right path. Now, now I look at my own country and I feel doubt. I'm recording this on Australia Day, January 26, 2026, Australia Day. Now I look at my own country, I feel doubt, I feel apprehension, and I feel like the Australia I grew up in, the Australia that was young and free, has been replaced by a nation where hurt feelings carry more weight than accountability. We have leaders who don't lead, we have bureaucrats who don't take responsibility, we have police leadership that treats risk assessments like optional homework, and we have laws designed to silence anyone who points out the flipping obvious. I no longer feel confident that I can end a podcast by saying, that's my opinion, without wondering whether someone will claim emotional damage and try to shut me down, to shut down the slippery slope. I look at this nation and I barely recognize it anymore. But that is just my opinion. I'm Jay Fallon, and thank you for listening to The Slippery Slope.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's gonna